My name is Ethan Cross, and I've been a detective for 15 years. I've seen bodies pulled from rivers, lovers who killed for insurance money, and businessmen who buried their secrets in shallow graves. I thought I understood the geometry of murder, the cold mathematics of motive and opportunity. But the Callum Hargrave case taught me that some deaths don't follow any rules I know. Some deaths split reality itself in two. It was a Tuesday morning in late September when Captain Reynolds called me into his office. The air conditioning was broken again, and the room smelled like burnt coffee and old paper. He slid a manila folder across his desk without looking at me, his jaw tight in that way that meant the case was political, sensitive, untouchable. "Motorcycle fatality on Pacific Coast Highway," he said. "Devil's Bend. Rider lost control around midnight last night." I opened the folder. The first thing I saw was the name, Callum Hargrave. Even I recognized it. The Hargraves owned Hargrave Gold Industries, one of the largest precious metal mining and trading operations in North America. Billions in assets. Old money mixed with new extraction technologies. Callum was the middle child, 43 years old, known in certain circles as the Biker Baron, because he'd spent a fortune customizing motorcycles and racing them on closed tracks across 3 continents. "Sounds straightforward," I said, though I knew better. Reynolds never called me in for straightforward cases. "It should be," Reynolds said, and I heard the warning in his voice. "Rich guy, fast bike, dangerous road. Write it up as accidental death, send it to the DA's office, close the file. The family wants discretion. They're already dealing with media inquiries." I looked at the accident scene photos. The motorcycle was destroyed, wrapped around a guardrail like a sculpture of twisted chrome and carbon fiber. Callum's body had been thrown 30 feet. Massive head trauma despite the helmet. The medical examiner's preliminary report listed the time of death as 23:47:32, based on when the emergency call came in from a passing motorist. "I'll take care of it," I said. But even as I said it, something felt wrong. Maybe it was the way Reynolds wouldn't meet my eyes. Maybe it was the fact that a man worth $800 million was riding alone on a dangerous highway at midnight. Or maybe it was just instinct, that whisper in the back of my skull that has kept me alive in this job. I went to the scene first. Devil's Bend is a tight curve on the PCH, where the road narrows and the cliff drops 200 feet to the rocks below. It's notorious for accidents. The asphalt still showed skid marks, black rubber streaks that told the story of a motorcycle braking hard, losing traction, sliding sideways. The guardrail was mangled where the bike had hit. There were still fragments of red paint from Callum's custom Ducati embedded in the metal. I stood there for a long time, feeling the wind come off the ocean, watching the way the sunlight caught the water far below. A memorial had already been placed at the site. Flowers, a framed photograph of Callum on one of his bikes, a handwritten note that said, "Ride in peace, brother." The photograph showed a lean man with dark hair going silver at the temples, wearing an expensive leather jacket, his expression somewhere between a smile and a challenge. The traffic camera was mounted on a pole 50 yards before the curve. I'd requested the footage that morning. The highway patrol had a second camera at a gas station convenience store about 200 yards past the curve. Standard procedure for a fatality investigation. Gather all available visual evidence. Establish the timeline. Confirm the narrative. I went back to the precinct and sat down with both video files. My office is small, cramped, with a single window that looks out at a brick wall. I like it that way. Fewer distractions. I pulled the traffic camera footage first, the one that captured the approach to Devil's Bend. The timestamp read 23:47:15. The highway was empty, just black asphalt under sodium lights. Then Callum's Ducati appeared, coming fast, easily over 90 miles per hour. The camera angle showed him leaning into the curve, but something was wrong with his line. He was too wide, going too fast. At 23:47:28, the bike started to slide. Callum fought it. I could see his body shifting, trying to correct, but physics won. At 23:47:32, the Ducati slammed into the guardrail on the outer lane, the impact so violent that Callum was thrown like a rag doll into the darkness beyond the camera's range. I watched it 3 times. Each time my stomach tightened. It was brutal, final, exactly what it appeared to be. A fatal accident caused by excessive speed and driver error. Then I opened the second video file, the one from the gas station camera past the curve. The timestamp read 23:47:15, the same starting point. This camera had a wider angle pointing back toward the road. I could see the curve from a different perspective, the guardrail, the edge of the cliff. The highway was empty. I waited, knowing what was coming, ready to see Callum's body on the road or the motorcycle debris, some aftermath of what I'd just witnessed. But at 23:47:28, a motorcycle appeared in frame, a red Ducati moving fast, the same motorcycle, and there was Callum Hargrave, leaning hard. But this time the bike was in the inner lane, close to the cliffside. At 23:47:32, the motorcycle lost control, struck a road sign, and Callum was thrown from the bike directly toward the cliff edge. He disappeared over the side. I stopped breathing. I rewound both videos and played them simultaneously on split screens. The timestamps matched perfectly. 23:47:32. In the traffic camera, Callum died slamming into the guardrail in the outer lane. In the gas station camera, he died going over the cliff in the inner lane. Same moment, same man, same motorcycle. 2 different deaths happening at the exact same second. I sat there for 2 hours, replaying the footage, checking the timestamps for manipulation, looking for any sign of digital editing or compression artifacts. The videos were clean, authentic, pulled directly from the traffic authority and gas station security servers. No tampering, no glitches. Callum Hargrave had died twice, simultaneously, in 2 different places. My hands were shaking when I finally picked up the phone and called the medical examiner's office. Dr. Sarah Lindstrom had performed the autopsy. "The body you examined," I said. "Callum Hargrave. Are you certain it was him?" "Positive ID from fingerprints and dental records," and she said. "Why?" "Cause of death. Massive cranial trauma consistent with high-speed motorcycle impact. Broken neck, shattered ribs, internal bleeding. He died instantly, Detective. I've seen a lot of motorcycle fatalities. This one was textbook. Was there anything unusual about the body? Anything that didn't fit?" There was a pause. "What are you asking?" "I don't know yet," I said, and hung up. I needed to talk to the family. The Hargrave estate was in the hills outside the city, a sprawling compound behind stone walls and wrought iron gates. I called ahead, and 30 minutes later I was sitting in a room that probably cost more than my annual salary to decorate. Everything was white marble, gold fixtures, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking manicured gardens. Wealth not just displayed, but weaponized. Vivian Hargrave entered first. 71 years old, wearing a black dress that probably came from Paris, her silver hair pulled back tight enough to hurt. Her face was a mask of controlled grief, the kind that comes from decades of practice hiding emotions behind etiquette and power. "Detective Cross," she said, her voice like ice wrapped in velvet. "I trust this will be brief. My family is mourning." Dominic Hargrave came in next, Callum's older brother, 47, wearing a suit that screamed Wall Street, his expression carefully neutral. He stood behind his mother like a bodyguard. Then Ashlyn Hargrave, the youngest at 39, beautiful in the way that expensive plastic surgery and personal trainers can make someone beautiful. She sat down without speaking, her eyes red but dry. "I'm sorry for your loss," I said, the words automatic. "I just have a few questions about the night of the accident." "Callum died doing what he loved," Vivian said. "Riding too fast, taking too many risks. We've been expecting this call for years, Detective. My son had a death wish on that motorcycle." "Did he seem troubled recently? Any unusual behavior?" Dominic shifted. "Callum was always troubled. He never fit into the family business. He preferred machines to people, speed to responsibility. This was inevitable." "Was he working on any projects, business deals, personal matters?" "Why does that matter?" Ashlyn spoke for the first time, her voice sharp. "He crashed his motorcycle. What else is there to investigate? I looked at each of them carefully. I'm just trying to understand his state of mind. His state of mind was reckless, Vivian said. Now, if there's nothing else, Detective, we have funeral arrangements to finalize. I stood up, but I didn't leave. One more thing. Did Callum own more than one motorcycle? Specifically, more than one red Ducati? The room went cold. Vivian's mask slipped for just a second, and I saw something underneath. Fear. Why would you ask that? Dominic said. Just being thorough. My brother owned 12 motorcycles, Ashlyn said, but only one Ducati Panigale V4, the one he died on. I nodded, thanked them, and left. But as I walked to my car, I felt their eyes on my back, felt the weight of something unspoken pressing down on me. I spent the next 3 days digging into Callum Hargrave's life. What I found was a man who didn't fit his family's golden narrative. He'd been arrested twice for street racing in his 20s. He'd dropped out of Harvard Business School. He'd spent millions on motorcycles, custom work, private tracks. But in the last 2 years, something had changed. He'd started asking questions about Hargrave Gold Industries, about mining operations in South America, about accidents at facilities that resulted in worker deaths. I found emails buried in subpoenaed records where Callum had contacted environmental lawyers, investigative journalists, forensic accountants. He was building a case against his own family. Something about illegal mining operations, bribery of foreign officials, deaths covered up as industrial accidents. He'd been about to expose them, and then he died. Twice. At the same time. I found the mechanic on the 5th day. His name was Marcus Lyle, and he ran a custom motorcycle shop in an industrial area near the docks. The kind of place that doesn't advertise, where you need to know someone to even find the address. I showed up unannounced, and when Marcus saw my badge, his face went pale. "I didn't do anything illegal," he said immediately. "I'm not here about that. I'm here about Callum Hargrave." Marcus looked around his shop at the half-assembled bikes, the tools, the smell of oil and metal. "He was a good customer. I'm sorry about what happened. He commissioned custom work from you, didn't he? Specialized builds." Marcus hesitated too long. "Yeah, he liked unique bikes." "How many red Ducati Panigales did you build for him?" The silence stretched. I could hear the hum of fluorescent lights, the distant sound of traffic. "2," Marcus finally said. He wanted 2 identical bikes, exact replicas, same paint, same modifications, same everything. He paid me $100,000 for the second one. My heart was pounding. "When did you deliver them?" 3 months ago. Why did he want 2 identical bikes? Marcus shook his head. He never told me. But Detective, I got the feeling he was planning something. Something big. He was scared. I could see it in his eyes. I left Marcus's shop with my mind racing. 2 identical motorcycles. 2 death scenes. 1 body. The physics of it started to make a terrible kind of sense. If Callum had staged his own death, if he'd set up the 2 bikes to crash simultaneously in different locations, he could create the perfect illusion of death while disappearing completely. But the body was real. The autopsy confirmed it. Callum Hargrave was dead. Unless it wasn't Callum Hargrave in that grave. I went back to the medical examiner's office and requested a secondary DNA analysis, comparison against blood samples taken from Callum during a hospital visit 2 years earlier. Dr. Lindstrom looked at me like I'd lost my mind, but she ran the test. The results came back 48 hours later. Perfect match. The body was definitely Callum Hargrave. I was missing something crucial. On the 8th day of the investigation, I received an unmarked envelope at the precinct. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. "Devil's Bend has 2 sides. Look again." I plugged the drive into my computer. It contained a 3rd video file from a dash cam I'd never seen referenced in any report. The timestamp read 23:46:00, 90 seconds before the crash. The video showed the Pacific Coast Highway from a car's perspective, driving north toward Devil's Bend, and there, parked on the shoulder just before the curve, were 2 red Ducatis. side by side, both empty, both gleaming under the streetlights. At 23:46:47, a figure in a black leather jacket and helmet appeared, walking between the bikes. The figure climbed onto the first Ducati, started it, and accelerated toward Devil's Bend, entering the outer lane. The bike roared out of frame. At 23:47:10, the same figure, or another identical figure, appeared again, climbed onto the second Ducati and accelerated toward the curve, this time taking the inner lane. 2 riders, 2 crashes, same moment. But who was the second rider? I went back to the Hargrave estate without calling ahead. This time I demanded to see Dominic alone. We sat in his study, surrounded by books about business strategy and framed photographs of mining operations. "Your brother built 2 identical motorcycles," I said. "He planned his death down to the second, but he didn't ride both bikes. Who did?" Dominic stared at me for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. "You don't understand what you're digging into, detective." "Then help me understand." Callum found out things about our family that should have stayed buried. Our gold mines in Colombia, in Ghana, in Indonesia, they weren't always operated legally. People died. Communities were destroyed. My mother, my grandfather before her, they built this empire on blood and lies. Callum couldn't live with it. He was going to destroy everything our family built. "So you killed him?" "No," Dominic said, and there were tears in his eyes now. "He killed himself. The second rider was someone Callum hired, paid to help him stage it, but Callum wanted to make sure he actually died. He wanted out, detective. He wanted to burn our reputation but also escape the guilt. So he rode one bike himself and had someone ride the other. He made sure at least one crash would be fatal. He just didn't know which one." "Who was the second rider?" "I don't know. Some drifter Callum found, paid in cash. Someone disposable who disappeared after. Callum timed it perfectly. Both crashes happened. One threw him into the guardrail, the other—" Dominic's voice broke. "The other sent the duplicate bike over the cliff into the ocean. The second bike was never recovered. As far as anyone knows, there was only ever one motorcycle." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm tired, detective. I'm tired of the lies. My brother is dead. He died to escape what we are. And maybe he was right to do it." I left that house feeling like I'd swallowed poison. Callum Hargrave had choreographed his own death, splitting himself across 2 timelines, 2 crashes, ensuring that no matter what happened, he would die exposing his family's sins. The paradox of the footage wasn't supernatural or impossible. It was the final act of a man who couldn't live with his family's blood money. I wrote my report. I listed it as accidental death. I didn't mention the second motorcycle or the staged crash. The family wanted discretion, and in the end, I gave it to them. Sometimes the truth doesn't set anyone free. Sometimes it just weighs you down until you can't breathe. But late at night, I still think about those 2 crashes, about the man who died twice in the same moment because once wasn't enough to escape what he knew. I think about the power of money to bend reality, to hide murder behind marble walls and gold fixtures. And I wonder, if Callum Hargrave was brave enough to die for the truth, why wasn't I brave enough to tell it? So I'm asking you now, whoever's listening, if you knew the truth about something terrible, something that could destroy powerful people but might also destroy you, would you speak? Or would you take it to your grave? Because some secrets don't stay buried. They split into 2, crash in different lanes, and haunt you forever. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like for more stories of crimes, secrets of powerful families, and investigations that no one dares to tell. Until the next case.